I'm super late to the party with this one, but it's for good reason. I've been wrestling with getting all of the functions to work properly and dealing with some frustrating software issues. And nobody else seemed to have these problems either, which was even more confusing. But we're here now, and the throttle is mostly fully functional, and the delay gave me the chance to also include the MTP throttle, which is the bottom piece, and the MTLP panel in this review. Now, I am 100% going to get the name of this wrong throughout this video. I've even had to tape it above the camera there. MOZA sent both of these units for testing and review, but they won't see this video before it goes live. Let's dive into what makes this throttle system tick and give you a good idea of whether it's worth your money or not. Let's start off with the physical layout, because this will determine if it's right for the type of flying that you enjoy. Now, one interesting thing is that this is clearly an F-18 inspired layout, which is a bit odd considering MOZA's other flight stick is an F-16 based design. Not a problem functionality wise, just an unusual pairing. So the MTP, that's the main throttle part, features 8 neatly organized panels, each with its own kind of functional area. Starting with the bottom right, you'll find this super handy zoom slider, or at least that's how I use it. Next to it is the FCS reset switch. This panel also includes rudder trim controls, and then we move on to the APU section. If you're someone who loves the full startup procedure, you'll appreciate a few things going forward. Me, I'm an auto start kind of guy, so this panel isn't as useful for the way that I play DCS, but again, I'm just kind of scratching the surface with it. Worth noting though, at the time of filming this, the APU ready light isn't working. And the fact that it's there suggests it'll be functional in a future update. As and when that'll be, I've got no idea. So you got your probe extend switch for aerial refueling, a basic lighting panel, and wing fuel inhibit controls. Now, I'm not sure how often anybody's done that or uses that function in DCS. I've certainly never used it before, but it's there. We then have some lighting controls now. These rotaries, they rotate infinitely. There's no start or stop positions. Now, this might be a little bit frustrating for some people. While it gives you the freedom to rebind them for other functions, it does mean that you lose that tactile feedback of hitting the maximum or minimum positions. It will just continue to spin through. Moving on, the radar panel includes infrared and laser targeting functions, along with various radar operation modes. Across the top, you'll find the generator and battery switches. Again, perfect if you like diving deep into the startup procedures. And finally, we have the throttle itself. Now, this can be split into two with this little pin here. Then there's a master lighting control knob just in behind that. Quick note, you'll need to bind everything on this throttle. Now, that took me about 10 to 15 minutes, which was slightly annoying, but it is what it is. The throttle handle itself is an F-18 inspired design with adjustable physical detents, although it is missing software adjustability with the detent system. Each handle has tension adjustment with these two screws just on the other side, plus a kind of neat rumble feature that's built in. I'll talk more about that later because it's somewhat limited in functionality right now. There are mounting holes on the bottom compatible with Next Level Racing flight sim plates. And one small detail I really appreciated, the threaded screw holes on the throttle have this golden brass colour that makes them super easy to align from underneath. Such a simple thing, but it made mounting so much faster. Now for the MTLP add-on panel. So that's this little thing here that's connected to the top. And holy this makes the throttle feel complete. You get the hook, you get the gear lever, parking brake, landing lights, launch bar, anti-skid and jettison controls. It's incredibly functional for just about anyone who flies. If you're someone that's looked at the throttle and thought, I might not use all of those controls down here, you'll certainly use everything on here. The backlighting across the full panel is perfect. No bright spots, no hot spots, incredibly even all the way through. Now, I also could have sworn I've seen images of the gear lever lighting up red during transition. The MOZA software also seems to suggest that it should happen just by the image they use on the loading screen. And when I look at the actual sort of translucent plastic, I can see what looks like a little bulb or little LED bulb inside there, but it doesn't light up when using the sim. Hopefully that's coming in a future update. Now for the big question. How does this feel? Starting with the throttle, it's incredibly accurate. The throttle handles are made from a kind of alloy and feel premium and cold to the touch. I was a bit surprised to find the throttle rail and detents made from hard plastic. Initially, you could say I was disappointed by this, but honestly, would metal even have made a real difference? I'm not so sure. What actually matters though is the feel, and it's smooth and it's crisp through the detents, with a very high quality feel through the entire axis range. The base unit is made from high quality plastic with what appears to be sort of aluminium side panels. The overall build quality is superb. The toggle switches, you know, they're brilliant. They're some of the best I've ever used. The rotary encoders here, they feel a little bit plasticky in comparison. The rudder trim rotary is pretty solid though. The zoom axis has a slight bit of grain to it and no center detent, so maybe they cut some corners here. And for the MTLP add-on panel, it's consistent with the rest of the main unit. Although the hook and gear lever verge on the feeling of slightly cheap compared to the rest of the base, but they function really quite well. The launch bar, the flaps, and all these switches on the top feel excellent. The jettison switch and button are made of plastic, but it's got a nice amount of travel with it and a really nice satisfying click at the end. The overall build quality is excellent. I haven't heard anyone complain about it, and I'd be surprised if they did. And for accuracy, it's as good as anything I've tried. It's hard to tell the difference between these high-end controllers these days though. When it comes to the physical size and the ergonomics, this is something you might want to consider before buying. It's, you could say, quite large. If you're running a desk setup, I'd strongly suggest measuring your available space. The complete unit with the MTLP panel and the mounting plate with these suction cups measures about 170 by 430 millimeters. That's the available space you're going to need to get this in position. Now, some people have mentioned stability issues, which maybe I can see where they're coming from, but I didn't have too much trouble. That said, mounting it to the desk with the suction cups and the mounting plate you can see here, it definitely provides a much better experience. But there is a bit of a miss here. You see, the mounting plate and the suction cups do not come with the throttle. It's a separate purchase. I think it's around $40 US. And I really do think they should have been included in the full package. But that leads me on to also pointing out that because of its size and in particular its design as well, the throttle works best in a lower, more natural position by your side. Having it up higher on a desk makes it harder to reach some of the controls on the additional panel. If you can position it more like a real-world setup, you'll have a much better experience. Now, moving on to the software, the MOZA cockpit software is pretty straightforward. The throttle shows up, you can click into it, calibrate all of your axes. It's user-friendly and well-designed, but it's missing some key features. Remember that rumble function for the grip that I mentioned earlier? Well, currently there's no way to configure it, and it only works as a wing buffet effect at the moment. I'd love to see additional functionality built into this, like afterburner feedback or even haptic detents if possible. I also suspect many people want software control over the detents. These are two areas that I think could really improve with updates. Now the pricing and the value. This is where it gets interesting. The MTP throttle is $329 USD, and the MTLP, this top part here, the add-on, is $149 USD. So based on pricing, features, and build quality, MOZA has positioned this throttle squarely in the mid to high-end range. Build quality and finish are superb. When you handle this throttle, you'll know you've invested in something premium, which is exactly what you want. In terms of value, it really comes down to your flying style. Look closely at the controls from top down. If it matches some of the functions you like to use in your F-18 and your sim, then the value is definitely there. But like always with stuff like this, if you fly a variety of jets or planes across different sims like Microsoft Flight Simulator or X-Plane, there's just better, more versatile options available. This is really optimized for F-18 flying. So the pros and cons, and to start with the pros, we're going to go with the superb build quality throughout. And it's perfect for F-18 enthusiasts. It's easy to remap button and axes. It's got an innovative sort of rumble feature in the grip, even if it's currently limited at this time. The axis, or the throttle axis, is incredibly smooth. It's got real nice design and sort of visual appeal to it. The backlighting across the entire thing is gorgeous. Got a spacious layout, so it's going to work well for VR users. And a couple of these switches actually have hats on them. So you can tell where your hand's at by just feel. The modular design of the throttle means that you can buy the throttle first and then add the MTLP later. And then for the cons, the software needs some refinement. There's just some missing features there. The large footprint can make it awkward on smaller desks. The gear lever doesn't light up, though it looks like it should. There's some plastic components where you might expect metal. In particular, I'm talking about the throttle rails and the detent system. And that's all I have for the cons. So in conclusion, the MOZA MTP throttle with the MTLP panel is certainly a strong entry into the flight sim market by MOZA. It's fairly priced for what you get, with a build quality that actually rivals more expensive options. The throttle itself feels substantial and smooth, and the backlighting is beautifully balanced across the entire panel. Now, despite some minor software niggles, I'd highly recommend this setup for anyone who primarily flies an F-18 and DCS. The add-on panel is incredibly practical, and I think most users who can afford both would be very happy with the complete package. But as with any specialized flight control, if you fly a variety of aircraft across multiple sims, you might be better served by something a little more versatile. This is a specialized tool designed for a specific experience, and it excels at that particular job, being flying an F-18.